Welcome to the University of Houston Student Center Theater. Please take your seats and silence your phones. The program will begin momentarily.
Tilman Fertitta is one of America's most successful entrepreneurs. As the CEO and sole owner of Landry's, he owns more than 600 restaurants, the Golden Nugget casino chain, the Post Oak Hotel in Houston, and oh yeah, the Houston Rockets. I mean, this is a guy, listen, he's got restaurants literally geographically all over the country, gambling, hotels.
Tilman Fertitta. Tilman Fertitta. Tilman Fertitta.
Houston billionaire Tilman Fertitta.
Meet Tilman Fertitta, the hospitality and restaurant mogul from Texas, whose empire consists of over 600 restaurants, 6 casinos, 12 hotels, 4 aquariums, 2 amusement parks, and the owner of the Houston Rockets.
Not everybody gets to own an NBA franchise. It's kind of fun.
With a net worth of over $5.3 billion, Tilman has been identified as the richest restaurateur in the world by Forbes magazine.
To say that you are a businessman is an understatement. You're a guy with 60,000 employees.
It's fun to be king, you know. I try to be king every day. I said the king's in the building. Tell me how you feeling.
Star of the hit CNBC show $Billion Bottom.
If this doesn't get better real quick, we have a serious issue.
I said the king's in the building. Tell me how you feeling.
It's time to scale it up or give it up.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get it.
I'd take the pride in walking in and going toe-to-toe with anybody. Somebody ever gotten up and said, I'd like to buy your product, but I'm tired of listening to you? I'm no different today than I was 25 years ago. Just because I live in a big house and I'm this or I'm that, I'm still the same guy.
It's all in the entertainment. It's all taking care of the customer. That's what I knew how to do.
Even when I was a little bitty kid, I would always carry my briefcase with me. I never read the cartoons. I always was just business.
I'm not going to let you fail. I'm going to set you up for success.
It is about small business trying to become big business. Nothing happens just automatically. You have to make it happen.
And now, for the first time, Tilman shares his personal secrets to achieving success in his much-anticipated debut business book, Shut Up and Listen, Hard Business Truths That Will Help You Succeed.
You may think you know what you're doing, but I'm going to show you what you don't know.
Tilman Fertitta, who has a new book, Shut Up and Listen.
Tilman Fertitta out with a new book today that is called Shut Up and Listen.
Tilman Fertitta.
He's got a new book. It's good.
This title fits him.
It's called Shut Up and Listen.
When you walk in the room, you always be the bull.
Please welcome to the stage University of Houston System Board of Regents Chairman Tilman Fertitta and University of Houston System Renu Khator.
So
we've had a few Q&As together, the two of us, so here we are. What a great pleasure to be here with all you guys today. And for you Texans, of course, y'all. I'm so glad y'all are here.
So how are you all? Good. Are you ready to shut up and listen? Okay, sounds good. Chairman, are you ready?
I'm always ready. You know that.
Okay.
One thing, your chancellor and your chairman always being ready. So we made a pretty decent team, the two of us.
So we'll have a few minutes that I'll ask Chairman questions, and then we'll open it up a little, and so you all can ask questions too. But I did ask my Twitter followers, and they sent me some questions, so I might mix up my questions with their questions. So, Chairman, first of all, I know you've been so busy since the launch of this book. It was launched on September the 17th. You have been in New York, you have been in LA, you have been coast to coast, but I do remember, even before you started your tour, you called me and you basically said, I want to do this session on campus for students.
100%. Always.
Okay. What I wanted to know was, and I have watched you during board meetings, you will skip your lunch to go and have a class or talk to student, interact. What is this that connects you so much to students? Why do you care so much? What's your empathy? I just want to know, and somebody wanted to know, how did you fall in love with the University of Houston?
You know, it's funny. I growing up in Houston, it was the University of Houston, and you got to remember, you go back in the 60s and the 70s, and I hate not to talk about academics, but they had this powerful basketball team. Remember, the greatest basketball game ever played was UCLA and the University of Houston. It's the first time that two college teams ever played in front of a large crowd, and it was Elvin Hayes against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Alcindor at the time. And they were just so great. And then you had the football team that had the Veer offense with Bill Yeoman. So from our football and our basketball team, we were one of the most visible athletic programs in the United States. And as a young kid growing up, liking sports, that's how you attach to a university. And it was just great, and started coming out here and going to games. You got to remember, then even the Houston Oilers played here in old Jefferson Stadium in the 60s and coming on campus. And it was just great. And then I love the youth, because y'all are tomorrow. And the youth today has more ideas and more drive and wants to understand more than any other group at such a young age. A lot of times students say, oh, I'll go out and get a job, then I'll try to decide what I'm going to do. Y'all are so different in that you already know what you want to accomplish and how you want to do it. And you have more of a mission. So the future is you guys, and one of the ways I stay young is being around y'all. And so I love to talk to the students, and what better group of students than the University of Houston to hang out with. So thank you.
Great. So I want you to know, even though the color wasn't right, I still wore your shirt. Shut up and listen. How about that? But
I wonder if they even ever thought about that when my retail department.
I said, what?
That looks like Aggies, the Aggies color. What a mistake. We're gonna have to get. Somebody's gonna have to get. I never noticed that.
In my eyes, everything is red. So that's what it is.
Hey, I love Cougar Red and Rocket Red. So
yes. So you're so busy. You have so many restaurants, you have casinos, you have now rockets, and you had television show. I know you're going to be on a magazine cover very soon. Now, how is it that you found the time to take one more project? What made you write this book, and what inspired you about it?
It's kind of funny. I always wanted to write a book, but I always thought it would be a life story book. And I always said, I want to wait a few more years, because I'm going to write a book that's really good, because I'm going to go after some people that I'm really pissed off at in this book. But HarperCollins came to me about 18 months ago, and they said, we watch your television show, and we see all these magazine articles on you, and we watch you co-hosting CNBC or Fox News, Fox Sports, or different ones. And we would like to take all these Tilmanisms that you say, take the word no out of your damn vocabulary, and there are no spare customers, and the 95-5 rule, and know your numbers, and talk about how that made you successful. So the book is very channeled, and it's an easy read for smart kids like y'all. You read it in 2.5 hours, and it's very simple reading, and it's edited to be easy. And they said, we'll pay you 7 digits to do this. And I said, really? Because usually business guys, if you see these books, they're usually self-promoted books where they pay for them to be published, and they never on the national level. And so I've been working on it about 17 months, and of course it's a big ordeal, and you have a huge edit team, and it's come out and been very, very successful. And but I guess when they came to me and put a contract in front of me and said, we're going to pay you to do this, it's what really kind of got me there. So it was a lot of fun. And then honestly, that it was more of a feel-good, honestly, than even the money, okay? Believe me, I spend a lot more money traveling around the country promoting the book, burning jet fuel, okay, than they could ever pay me. So, but it was just the idea that, you were important enough you were important enough as the longest running chairman of the University of Houston that we want to do this with you.
Well, you talk about several, pieces of advice and several things in your book. Be persistent, keep punching, listen, know your numbers. But there's one quality about you that I have admired from the very beginning, and last example of it came a couple of weeks ago, when during all this thick of all the hoopla that was going on about the Rockets and NBA and China and all of that, you showed up for a University of Houston event that you had committed before. In 10 plus years of your time as a board member, you've never missed a board meeting. It seems to me like it's really important to you to keep your promise, but I've also noticed that you don't promise so easily either.
That is so very funny. So don't make the commitment, and then you don't have to do it. But honestly, that is the truth. So I don't make a lot of commitments, but I made a commitment to be chairman of the board of the University of Houston Board of Regents, and even I'm on my second term. I'm on like my 10th year. And I've only missed one meeting, and I was dead sick in LA, and while I was shooting the show, and I didn't make it back. And I think it was also the storm too. It was all the above, yes. Harvey. And so you always remember this. When you make a commitment, and it goes back to there are no spare customers. The University of Houston, I made a commitment, so I have to deliver. And it's no different than anything you do. Treat every single thing you do with a commitment. And somebody walked up to me the other day, which happens all the time, and said, I'm in sales. Just tell me that, just in 10 seconds, give me something that I can live with every day. And you know what I told this person? Treat every customer that you're selling something to like they're your only customer, and make them feel that special, and they'll never buy anything from anybody else. So just remember that if you go into sales, because everybody wants to be treated special.
So true. So there are a lot of good pieces of advice that you have at the end of the chapter. You have made my life really miserable since I read your book. You know why? Every time I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what would Tilman say to this? I mean, should I be doing this or no? But there's one particular sentence that in your book on page number 105 that I read, and I just like, oh my gosh, and that scared the heck out of me.
What is it? I can't wait to
It's called, you said very simple way, your own style, what I call Tilman style, which is no BS around, right? No beating around the bush. You said there's a paddle for everyone's ass. Talk a little bit about that. How do you watch? How do new and old business people can watch for these battles?
I get asked this. I'm going to stand up. I get asked this all the time, and people say, "Gosh, what do you fear every day? And do you wake up and just scared?" And I said, "I absolutely fear absolutely nothing, But in business, now don't go ask me to go ride the big roller coaster or anything like that. I fear the hell out of that. But when it comes to anything business, I don't fear it at all. But I worry about every single detail and everything every day. And the day you stop worrying, the paddle will get your ass. And I don't care what you do or who you are. If you're a student and you think you know enough, and I've studied, but you know what, those last couple of days, I have a friend coming in, I'm gonna go party, and I'm gonna be okay. There's a paddle for everybody's behind every single day, and you just have to spend the rest of your life making sure the paddle doesn't get your ass. Now, you'll get some taps, we all do. All of us have lots of setbacks in life. I've had my setbacks. But every day, no matter how much money I made, it makes me worry more so the paddle never gets me. So no matter what you do, I don't care if relationships, business, school, sports, there's a paddle for everybody's ass, okay? So just worry about it. Next.
Okay. Okay. So this is from my Twitter followers, because I put it down on Twitter saying, if you could ask a question to Tilman, what would it be? So here are some questions, and it's very actually really good questions. So this person is asking, besides hard work, time is a key aspect of being successful. Could you share how you decide if an opportunity is worth seizing? Is it something you cultivated? Is it the people involved in the deal, or is it simply your intuition? How do you know that this is the opportunity I should seize?
From a business standpoint,
yes.
I'm an opportunist. And, I know business. Just everybody's given a gift. And I talk about this in the book. And you've got to find that God-given gift. I took guitar lessons for 4 years when I was a kid, and I still can't play a chord, okay? If you asked me to go draw something, a person, I would have to draw a stick person and it would look lousy, okay? But God gave me a business gift, and he gave every one of you some type of gift. So you should find out what it is. And it might not be something that you make a lot of money at, but you'll enjoy your life better, okay, by doing what you really like doing. Because it's not all about money. Now, I'm sure you're saying, yeah, you're saying that, okay? But honestly, it isn't. It's what you do every day. That on a holiday weekend, when Monday is off, I'm kind of upset because I don't have my office to go to. Okay, so that's more than being about money. But I understand business, and I can always see the opportunity, and I always do the right due diligence. And that's why my company's been so good at being an opportunist and buying public. I just bought a public company the other day, Del Frisco's, okay? Because the restaurants were great, but it was ran lousy at the executive level. Because management is so poor. Just because somebody's the CEO of a company, that doesn't mean they know what the hell they're doing. It's the case of the Peter Principle. We've had great chancellors at this university because I've watched it for 40 years, but we never had one as good as her. Okay? Because a lot of times they just go grab the dean of a school or whatever, and they just say, okay, you're going to be the new chancellor. Well, that's not everybody can do everything. Just because you're a great dean at the business school, that doesn't mean you can run an organization like this. This is a big billion-dollar organization. So always be an opportunist. I've been successful being a cyclical buyer, okay? So remember this, when times are really good, you forget they're ever going to be bad again. And when times are really bad, you forget they're ever going to be good again. And once again, that's your relationships, that's business, that's school. And that's why this book did so well on the self-improvement for Amazon, because it's not just business, it's just about life. And one of the things I've always lived by is, when things are really bad, they're going to get good again. So I've always done big acquisitions and set myself up. Like I know right now the economy is going to tank eventually in the next 18 to 24 months because we're on the greatest economic run ever. So I'm making sure I have a lot of liquidity to go acquire, because you know what the people at Landry's know, my 60,000 employees? They know in bad times we eat the weak. And they know we're the bull, and we're going to be the company that really grows while everybody else is struggling. Because we've done it time and time and time again. And I make sure that paddle never gets my ass, that I'm going to be getting yours. So just always remember that. You can live that same way every single day.
So I remember one time in your post-oak hotel, I was there for something, and you said, let's sit down.
You were hanging out with Modi. Go ahead and tell everybody, you know.
I said, let's sit down, and you said, let's sit down and either have a drink or whatever. And we sat down near the pool. And I still remember it because as soon as you sat down, you said, oh, I just don't like when things aren't right. And I just looked around. I couldn't find anything wrong. It's spick and span, as beautiful as it can be. And you pointed out to me, you said, see, that one light in the swimming pool is dimmer than the other lights. You said, on this side, the table is kept in a square form, and this side, it's in a diagonal form. And then you said, and that door in that bar there is little ajar. I never noticed any of the things. How do you have such attention to detail?
Well, it's a curse. It's a horrible curse, okay? Because I don't get to go anywhere and enjoy anything that belongs to me. And that's why you guys will see me out at other bars and other restaurants out there, so I can relax and I can say, God, look how screwed up they are. Because I love when I go someplace else and I see how screwed up they are. And I never complain. They, oh, how is everything, Mr. Fertitta? Oh, it is wonderful. I just love it. You know, it's the 95-5 rule. And 95% of everything is right, so you always look for the 5% that's wrong. And if you live that the rest of your life, if you're really into something and you want to be a detail person, but a lot of people say, why be into the details? I'm just going to coast along and not worry about it. But it goes back to that you can always separate yourself from everybody else. People say, well, how do I go up the corporate ladder? Be the first one there, be the last one to leave. Make sure that you're a leader amongst your peers. Make sure you're a leader amongst your bosses. And it's so easy to set yourself apart from everybody else, okay? It's so easy. All my years in school, junior high, high school, I had teachers say, Mr. Fertitta, you're such a leader, but could you lead in the right direction? So see, I was still leading even back then. But it's so easy to separate yourself. I just stepped on, y'all don't want me to fall over like, what's her name did the other night. You're not going to see the two of us dancing like that, though. Do y'all know who I'm talking about? Who is it? Yeah. But that would be really funny, huh? If we break into that dance. It's so easy to separate yourself. And just remember that, okay? When you go get your first job, just tell yourself, I'm a University of Houston student, and I'm going to separate myself from everybody else that just went to work for this company. And if you follow that, I can promise you you're going to be more successful. Because remember, they hired you over somebody else. So that means they already like you, okay? They already like you because they hired you. Now it's up to you. But I can evaluate somebody after the first week they've been there. If I'm usually coming back to the office at 5 o'clock, and if I can see who the herd is that's running me over on the elevators, okay? Don't be ever, ever, ever a clock watcher if you want to succeed. Now, it took me a long time, but the world's made up of all different types of people. You have your people that want to be leaders, and you have your people that want to go in 8 to 5 and just kind of stay like this below the radar screen, and I'll feel my slot in life, and that's fine too. It takes all of you. And if you want to be that, that's fine. But if you want to be successful, it's up to you, and I can promise you, you can do it.
So I want you all to think about your question, but I'm going to ask Tilman meanwhile. This is my last question, so then you can think about it. How does it feel to be a celebrity? I know you're going to be on a cover of magazine.
You know, you're used to it. I mean, this is my third magazine cover this year, matter of fact. I come out on Ink this Monday. But I've been on a dozen magazines over the years. So everything happened for me like this. I wasn't smart enough to be a tech guy. I've never been the smartest guy in the room. And so I never just went like here. My progression has been casual. So it never was that difficult to adjust. Is it fun to walk down the street no matter where you are, even New York, and have people take pictures with you? It's nice, and that's why you're always nice, because you feel very fortunate that it's happened for you. But you know, it's got its pluses and its minuses, but you'll always take the pluses. So, but I'm one of those people that still, you can see me out anywhere in Houston. I've never been one of those people to say, okay, well, I'm just going to stay. I'm going to stay in. I think I was out last Saturday night at Handlebar till 2 a.m. See.
Well, you're very down to earth person, as are your children.
Just because you make a few dollars, that doesn't mean you should ever change. And people still set an example. That's something else I talk about. You still can watch me walk through one of my casinos and stoop down and pick up a piece of trash, or walk up to a busboy and say you didn't clean underneath that chair, okay? And because I do that, my people do it. And if you walk for me, none of us are a bunch of suits that tell somebody else to go do something. Everybody in my company works extremely hard. And I'm talking about 60,000 people, but the most senior executives will do anything and everything, because it's a culture of a company.
All right, anybody has questions now? Let's see, I'll find out whether you read the book or not. So, okay, yes.
I will say that I've not read the book, but one of the questions I had is, you talk a lot about paddles, so what is one of the biggest ones you've received, and how did you overcome? Also, my name is Sophie.
Thank you so much. What's the biggest paddle I've received? Probably a couple of weeks ago for just a tweet I put out, you know. And it really wasn't, but I never have had that catastrophe. Now, one of the things I thought I was going to have that when I was first starting out in the 80s, and you guys are too young, but do y'all remember the 08, 09 recession? Or y'all were only 10 years old, 8 years old, but maybe you saw it in your parents' eyes. Well, there was one in the 80s in Texas that was worse than that by a lot. All these cranes, you never saw them stop building in Houston in 08, 09. Everything shut down. Every bank failed in Houston. That's why you have banks too big to fail that have $1 trillion in assets, because they're roll-ups of all the banks. And so what would happen is a bank would fail, so they'd have to have another bank go manage the good assets, and the United States government took out the bad assets, the bad deals, and then put them somewhere else and just let them go away and just funded it. Remember, we can print money in America. So I had a time in the 80s, and I was just getting going. I mean, I was rolling. And remember, I built my first hotel when I was 26 years old. But I had loans at 9 different banks, $2 million. Now, that might not sound like a lot of money to y'all today, or it might sound like a lot of money, but back in the 80s, that was a whole lot of money. And I was scared to death because business had gotten tight, and all of a sudden, the FDIC starts coming in every Tuesday and starts shutting down banks. And every single bank I did business with failed. Think about that. And there was nobody to pay. There was absolutely nobody to pay. If you called whoever, there was the Resolution Trust was then set up by the government to handle this, and it took them 5 years to call me, 4.5 years, to say, Mr. Fertitta, we have these $2 million in loans, and we'd like to know what you want to do with them. I said, well, I appreciate the time, guys, because in the meantime, I've built me a few restaurants. Things are going really well. Because you can't develop anything, but I was able to go back and pay all $2 million, but they waived all the interest and everything. So that was a paddle that would have definitely gotten me, okay? But you know what? I love this. I survived the banks, and the banks didn't. I mean, how many people get to say that?
Well, would you like to there are 2 microphones I see at both ends, so if you have a question, please do line up there, and that way at least I can go this way, one here and one here. So if you have a question from this side, if somebody's here, yeah, go ahead. You have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Chris. I'm a student at the Hilton College.
Great.
My question... My question is, I know you're a man of many businesses, not just hotel, restaurant, casinos, I want to know, is there a business space that you're not currently in that you would like to be in the future, and why?
I've never been in the oil business, and I'm glad, because at least in my business, I get to pick usually how I'm going to get into it and make the decisions for me. When you're in a commodity business like the oil business, you can be doing great, but the price of oil dropped from $100 to $30, and all of a sudden your net worth goes from, let's just say my $5 billion net worth went to $2 billion. At least in the businesses that I'm in, which are consumer driven, I get to dictate. If I do a bad job, I'm not going to do well. If I do a good job, things are going to go well in all the businesses that I'm in. If I continue to put a good team on the basketball court, people are going to come out and spend money with us, and you're going to get sponsors, and you're going to continue to sell out. But I don't like commodity businesses where I don't have anything to do with it. The decisions I make could be great decisions, but the price of oil or the price of gas or whatever changes how I do financially. So, yes,
Okay,
sir.
well, we go from
Over
this
here.
side now.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Fertitta? I actually had the pleasure of working on your show like 2 years ago. I was on it for a couple weeks, and that was a lot of fun. So my question to you is, in business, how do I surround myself with that strong group of people to work with?
Well, at the business or where?
I mean, you could say in general, I guess, but I really do mean business.
Well, let me just say this, okay? And this is going to be kind of a generic answer because it's kind of a generic question. But just, I want you guys, or all of y'all, to always remember this. You have positive people out there and you have negative people out there, okay? And that's work ethic. That's, do they live a clean life? And are they doing too much drugs or whatever, okay? I'm not going to say no drugs, okay? Okay. When you hang around with people, you have to evaluate that person and say, is that a positive person or is that a negative person I'm hanging around with? Is that a driven person or would they rather sit at home and watch TV? And one of the things I always did, okay, always, is I evaluated everybody I hung around with and I made sure they were a positive person. Because two things are going to happen. If you hang around with a negative person, either they're going to make you negative or you're going to make them positive. And if you hang out with a positive person, either you're going to make them positive or they're going to make you negative, okay? Always pay attention to the people you hang around with, because good things happen if you hang around driven people and positive people who don't have too many bad habits versus the other people that do. And if you just live your life that way, you're going to live a much better, happier, more productive, positive life. So just always remember that.
I think. Go ahead from this side.
Hi, Tilman. My name is Joy Kumar J. Patel. I'm a 19-year-old luxury real estate agent from Dallas, Texas, and I'm on a mission to build the greatest hotel company in the world. What are 1 to 3 books that have greatly inspired your life and influenced you the most?
You know, I never had that one mentor. I just always knew that I wanted to be successful. And I would watch lots of things about different positive people. And, you know, when I would do things and people would write me a little hand notes or somebody, you know, that they worked hard, or somebody who treated their people well but was very tough. You know, I like that. I picked that up. There's nobody, you could talk to anybody that works directly for me, and they'll tell you, God darn, that's the toughest guy to work for. I mean, they will get up in my behind. But you know what? I would never work for anybody else. To me, that's the greatest, you know, trait to have and compliment to me. You know, you know what you want to do, okay? And so I go back to there are no spare customers. And if you treat, to me, hospitality is everything. And it's like, if you want to build the best hotel company, it can be any demographic you want, from the highest end to an overnight hotel, just a small hotel, a Holiday Inn Express or whatever. But you can do even that better than anybody else. So it's just you deciding, I'm going to be the best at whatever demographic that my customer is going to be in. So that's the advice that I would give you.
So what are one to three books that have greatly inspired you the most?
Shut Up and Listen.
Of course.
What's the one that Outliers is one of my favorite, and Rich and the Think and Grow Rich is a good one. Okay, those are three of my favorites. But I've read so many business books over the years, and some are good and some aren't. But you have to decide what exactly are you trying to accomplish. But there's so many good books. There's so many good books out there. So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Varun.
Hi, hi, Mr. Fertitta. My name is Varun. I'm a student at the College of Business over here. So I remember reading a quote you said a couple of years ago when I was a freshman, which basically said that you should borrow when business is doing well and banks are willing to lend, rather than wait for the downturn, something you talked about a bit right now as well. If you consider it, having excess cash on hand is a liability, but when things go rough, you want to have the cash. How do you figure out the perfect amount of like your debt equity leverage and stuff like that?
It just depends. I have a heavy cash flow business. And one of the reasons that I've made it through all the downturns is because I had money coming in every day, because I was in the restaurant business or cash businesses, where if you're in the accounts receivable business, the 80s were tough. You just cannot imagine. But do you want to have to go check your mailbox to see did somebody send you a check that they owed you? Or do you want that money coming in every day? When you have money coming in every day, it's a lot easier. Because then the only person you have to pay is the person that's standing in your lobby saying you've got the money. but what you're asking is something that I've always realized, okay, is people don't like to borrow money when they don't need it, because why am I going to pay the interest? Well, I can remember it was about 8 or 9 years ago, I had the opportunity. When you're successful in business and you've borrowed big dollars, they throw money at you. And I can remember my bankers in New York called and said, hey, do you want to borrow $250 million? Okay? And we're just going to do it as an add-on to you. And the rate's going to be low at 5%. And I said, you know what, I'll take it, okay? But the interest on that was $12.5 million a year, okay? But you could say, well, should I take that? Now I've got to pay interest on it of $12.5 million. Well, you can't always borrow money. The lending market goes up and down, just like the stock market. And if you really want to know if a bad economy is about to happen, don't ever pay attention to the stock market and what it's doing. Pay attention to the debt market. Okay, my debt trades just like stocks, okay? But the debt market is what tells you what's happening in the economy, not the stock market, okay? The stock market is unsophisticated people, and the debt market is the most sophisticated people, okay? Just always remember that the rest of your life, okay? So I took that money, okay? Well, then all of a sudden, the FTC comes in and says, well, this other company that already owns the L'Auberge Casino, they had just bought the company that was building the Ameristar Casino. Well, I was able to immediately get on a plane and go up to Vegas and meet that CEO and say, listen, I'll put up $100 million today, no financing contingency, no gaming contingency, and put up $100 million. Well, I might not have been that confident if I wouldn't have had that money. And so it all worked out. So if you can borrow money, you always are better off borrowing it, because when you need money, when you need it, just remember this, you can never borrow it, okay? Because when you need it is usually when the other people need it, and the banks shut down. And so I've always been one that's probably hurt me at times, and I've paid a lot more interest than I ever should have, but leverage never bothered me. because I always had cash flow businesses, okay? Even today, I probably have $5 billion in debt, which costs me probably almost $1 million a day in interest, okay? But it doesn't bother me at all, because I also know that after I pay for everything, I still have a few $100 million left, okay? So the leverage doesn't bother me, okay? And also, if the world fell apart tomorrow, okay, and I talk about this in the book, don't do a pro forma. You go get whatever you want to the bank, but you always do a worst case pro forma for yourself, okay? Because that's always what happens. The best case never happens. No matter if you meet somebody at school and you think you're going to get happily married, usually the worst case happens, that it doesn't work out. And the same thing in borrowing money, and the same thing in everything you do in life. Always, whatever decisions you ever make, if it was that easy, we could all draw out how our lives are going to be. Okay, always think about the worst case scenario in every situation. And that's always what I've done. I've never drank my own Kool-Aid. Okay, I've always worried about the worst case scenario. So what side are we on?
Yes, so we have 2 minutes left, and I see a lot of lines, so I just don't want you to be standing there. We'll go one question here.
We can
and
go a
hopefully-
few minutes more,
Okay.
whatever.
We can go a few minutes more, so maybe 3 or 4 questions. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Noor Al-Hawamde, and my question is regarding toxic work environments. So do you have any tips for us once we graduate and start getting into the working world, how to deal with potentially tricky bosses or higher ups?
What was the last part of that?
How to deal with tricky bosses or tricky individuals within a company that may not like you.
Well, just be the boss, right?
Right. That's one, be the boss. That's kind of negative. Let's turn that into a positive question. Why don't you ask me that question another way?
Okay.
Let's see how, come on, you're a student. Come on, turn that question around. Ask me that same question in a positive way.
You're giving me a test?
I'm giving you a test. You gave me one, so I'm going to give you one.
Okay. What tips do you have for students entering the workforce on how to deal with individuals from different backgrounds and different viewpoints?
That's very good. All right, you get an A. The one thing that we have to do today, and that was unbelievable the way you did that. The one thing you have to do, and I think what's wrong today, is you have to respect everybody, okay? And just because somebody has a difference of opinion, okay, you can't not be friends with somebody or trash somebody because of their opinion, okay? Now, what I love about the world is, and I know this because I'm not the smartest guy in the room, I love both sides, okay? I love the conservative view and I love the liberal view, because big business, because of profits, would continue to pollute things. So it's great to have the environmentalist out there, okay? But this is one of the things that when everybody wants to go after big business, okay, and attack big business, and everybody said all they want to do is profits, but then all of a sudden, well, why is my 401k down? Well, why? I'm mad. I'm mad at Apple because, gosh, they got mad and pulled out of China. Okay? Well, my stock just went down 20 points, which affected my 401k. So everybody loves to give an opinion and everybody loves to hit on everything until it affects them. And that's what you got to remember. That's a very selfish way and a very selfish thought. Everybody has an opinion on everything until it affects them. And you shouldn't be that way. So always respect everybody and be around good people. Now, once again, the Me Too movement and things like that, MAD, I love that, okay? Because there was a horrible drunk driving problem in America, and I love that MAD was formed, okay? Because even though it never happened to me, I can't imagine losing a child or a best friend to a drunk driver, okay? And to think that a woman would be asked to do something for a man to move up in a company or get a part or be a guest on a show is inconceivable to me. So both sides, from a political standpoint, from a boss-employee standpoint, always have respect, okay? There is nobody more, I don't want to say, because I'm really not opinionated, okay? But I always have something to say, okay? But always be a good leader. And you can be a good leader as an employee or an employer. I've never had a vote that wasn't 100%, okay, since I've been chairman of the Board of Regents, which I think I'm in my 6th or 7th year. But every year before me, there was always broken votes, okay? And you know why? You know why I've never had a non-unanimous vote? Because I listened to everybody else. And I said, you're either going to convince me or I'm going to convince you. But if we did not convince each other, we still went with the majority just to support. Because I don't need to be out there as an outlier just to be an outlier. Let's at least all show unity together. And that's where I'm upset with America today, that we all don't show unity together, but it's all right to disagree. So I'm sorry I gave you a dissertation. But
That was great advice. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Fertitta. So naturally, I Googled you before this day. And I was reading a few articles about you, and I read something awesome about one of your executive vice presidents, Stephen Scheinthal, and he said some incredible things about you and how much he loved you and like thought so highly of you, and he's been with you since 1992.
he
and
just
I'm like
made
you.
millions of dollars off of that.
So, I'm like you. I've always wanted to start a big business. I want to be this big executive. I'm always talking to my friends. How do you actually find these people that you start, your core group, like high potential people? How do you manage power dynamics? How do you keep a team together through all big changes and the growth and things like that?
I would say, and this is the truth, when somebody says, what is your greatest accomplishment? I say, I have been able to, I probably have 25 vice presidents that have averaged 27 to 30 years with me. And everybody that's a direct answer to me is still with me. And one of the reasons is I shoot people straight, and you always know where you stand. And I think that's the best thing that you can do as a leader, is people prefer somebody to look at them and say, why in the hell did you do that? That is if I don't call you a dumb motherfucker, then I don't like you, okay? Okay, I can't tell you. It's even a joke at my company. You dumb motherfucker, you. But then I put my arm around them, okay? And I've had to do that with a few regents. I mean, I'm just kidding. But it's always being honest with people. People love to know where they stand, and they love to be hugged, but they also love to know if they want your opinion, you give them your opinion. So I think I'm answering your question, but maybe I'm not. So
thank you. Just last
Go
question.
ahead. Let's do one more.
Hello, Mr. Fertitta. I'm Madison. So my question is, having a net worth of well over the top 1% in the world, which would easily allow you to retire and just do whatever you wanted, what keeps you going in your business?
This is sport to me. This is what I do every day. And I would die if I retired, okay? I mean, I would just die. I mean, I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, I couldn't wait, Kate. I could not wait to wake up and know how busy my day was today. That I have bankers in from New York. I have the owners of Milwaukee joining me. I had to come here and do this, which I look forward to. I mean, my schedule is so tight today that I had to land on campus in a helicopter. I'm minute to minute today, till about midnight tonight, at dinner after the game. And if I couldn't do that, I don't know what I would do. I love my life. So being busy is the greatest thing in the world. Okay, just always remember that. There's nothing like being busy. When you're not busy, you better go find a way to get busy, okay?
So as we end, I want to see what your fortune is. I'm going to open the fortune cookie for you. Let's see, what does it say? And I've got mine here too, so let's see, let's compare.
All right. As y'all know, remember this. You know how you're supposed to end a fortune cookie, right? You will soon receive an offer you cannot refuse. What are the 2 words you're supposed to say after a fortune cookie? That's right. Think about that. You will soon receive an offer you cannot refuse in bed. I cannot wait.
Yes.
I want to see yours.
Okay.
She doesn't want to say hers.
No. Mine says you will be fortunate in everything you put your hands in.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you all very much. Mr. Fertitta will be signing the
Tilman.
books. Tilman will be signing the books in the bookstore. So if you want his signature, if you're on your book.
And apparently 2 regents purchased a bunch of books today to give them to X amount of students. And those 2 regents
So
are...
Regent Doug Brooks and Regent Jack Moore, 2 of them purchased all the books for everybody
Jack
today
Moore-
who's getting them.
So if you see Doug Brooks or Jack Moore, thank them personally. They did not have to do this. I just thought it'd be kind of weird that I'm going to come over here because I'm going to buy you a book. That would be like bribing y'all. So even though sometimes you have to do what you have to do. So I'm not Yeah, you know, one of my...
Don't forget to take your book to the bookstore to have it personalized by Tilman Fertitta. Additional books will be available for purchase as well.